You know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
It is late at night, the room is completely dark,
Oh, yeah.
and your face is just illuminated by that cold blue light of your phone screen. You're scrolling through social media, and suddenly, there it is.
The trigger.
Exactly. A friend from college just posted about getting a massive promotion. So you scroll a little more, and another friend just bought a house. Or maybe, someone who is like 5 years younger than you just started a wildly successful video channel.
Yeah, that's the worst one.
Right. And out of nowhere, you feel this heavy wave of panic wash over you. Your chest gets tight, your breathing gets shallow, and your brain starts screaming that time is running out.
It is a very specific physical reaction, honestly. Your body is basically going into a full fight or flight mode, all because of a photo on a screen.
It's wild. Like, why does that happen? Why does someone else's good news feel like a literal threat to my survival?
That is exactly what we are unpacking today.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are exploring a really relatable concept, which is living on your own timeline. We are looking at a fascinating collection of psychology notes, a viral piece of internet poetry, and some really practical mindfulness techniques.
And the mission today is to decode that specific anxiety, that fear of feeling like you're falling behind in life.
Because I think we all feel it. And just a quick note for you listening, we know a lot of you join us to practice your English, so we're going to keep our pace nice and comfortable today. We're keeping the vocabulary clear, and we're actually going to highlight some incredibly useful English phrases along the way.
Right, because giving a feeling a name is half the battle. These aren't just words to memorize for a test. They are psychological tools to help you label your emotions and regain your peace of mind.
So true. So let's jump right in. To understand how to stop feeling so rushed all the time, we first need to identify the invisible force that's making us run in the first place.
Yeah, the root cause.
Right. When we look at our peers, the people around our age or in our field, and we see them hitting major life milestones, it triggers this really deep insecurity. But from a biological standpoint, why do we care so much?
Well, it actually goes way back to human evolution. For our ancient ancestors, survival depended entirely on the tribe.
Like staying with the group.
Exactly. If you were keeping up with the group, you were safe. If you were lagging behind, you were in real danger of being left out in the cold.
Oh, wow. So it's literal survival.
It was. And fast forward to today, that survival instinct has morphed into what psychologists call the social clock.
The social clock. Okay, I love that term. It perfectly describes that loud ticking timer I always hear in the back of my head. But what is it exactly like in a modern context?
So the social clock is essentially society's habit of using a single standardized timeline to measure everyone's success.
A single timeline for everyone.
Right. It's an unwritten schedule, tells you that you should graduate by 22, have a settled, high-paying career by 30, get married by 32, and so on.
And we just accept it.
Completely. It is a societal expectation that we internalize so deeply, we actually forget it is entirely made up.
That is so true. It's completely made up. And when our real lives don't match that made-up schedule, our ancient brain misinterprets it.
Yep, it thinks you are being left behind by the tribe.
So it hits the panic button.
Exactly. When you force someone else's success script onto your own life and you fall short, your brain interprets that as a literal threat. The notes we are analyzing refer to this specifically as age-related panic or time anxiety.
Time anxiety. That is a great vocabulary term for our listeners to note down. Time anxiety.
Right. Time anxiety is that specific tight chest panic about running out of time to achieve your goals.
It is just exhausting to live like that. Looking at this idea of the social clock, it actually makes me think of a marathon.
Oh, I like this. Go on.
Imagine being forced to run a marathon where everyone else secretly started at completely different mile markers.
Yeah.
Like, some people started the race at mile 10 because of their family's wealth. Some started with a bicycle because of their connections. And you started at mile 0 wearing heavy winter boots.
That is such a good image.
Right. Yet society is judging all of us by the exact same clock at the finish line. It is just absurd.
It's totally absurd. That is a brilliant way to visualize it. You are measuring yourself against a standardized clock, but the race itself isn't standardized at all.
Not even a little bit.
We all have completely different starting points, different resources, different physical health, and just different life circumstances.
And this brings us to another really great piece of vocabulary for you guys listening. The phrase is peer comparison.
Peer comparison, yes.
The word peer refers to people who are your equals in age or status. So peer comparison is that trap where we measure our own lives against the people around us.
And it leads directly to the feeling of falling behind.
Falling behind, which basically means failing to keep up with the pace of others.
The psychology notes actually suggest a very practical tool right here. When you are caught in that late-night scrolling trap and you feel the panic rising.
The time anxiety.
Yes, the time anxiety. You can actually use language to disrupt the cycle. By getting the feeling a concrete label, you move the anxiety from the emotional center of your brain to the logical center.
Oh, that makes sense. So instead of just spiraling out of control, you treat the language like a mantra.
Exactly.
You can literally say out loud, I feel pressured by the social clock.
Yes. Or you could say, I constantly feel like I'm falling behind.
Let's repeat those for the listeners so they can practice. I feel pressured by the social clock.
I constantly feel like I'm falling behind. Just putting that specific English vocabulary to the emotion shifts your brain out of panic mode. You're basically identifying the invisible enemy.
Okay, so if we can logically recognize that this single standardized clock is broken, like that the marathon is completely rigged, how do we replace it? What's the alternative?
The alternative requires a pretty massive shift in perspective. We have to zoom out and look at the reality of different time zones.
Time zones. I found this part of our research absolutely fascinating.
It really is.
There is this viral piece of internet poetry included in our materials, and it perfectly captures this concept of personal time zones. It points out how wildly different human timelines really are purely by looking at the math of people's lives.
It highlights some really profound contrasts. For example, the poem mentions someone who graduates college at 22.
Which seems perfectly on time.
Right, but then they have to wait 5 whole years to actually find a good job.
Oh, wow. Yeah. While someone else might become a CEO at 25, which seems incredibly fast, but then they tragically pass away at the age of 50.
And then you have another person who doesn't become a CEO until they're 50 years old.
Right, and by the social clock standards, they are so late.
But they live a long, thriving life until they are 90. The timeline is simply not a straight line that everyone walks at the exact same speed.
It's so true. And, the notes even use some well-known political figures to demonstrate this. And I want to be super clear here. Regardless of anyone's politics, we are not endorsing anyone or taking sides at all.
No, absolutely not. We're just looking strictly at the math of their ages as a career benchmark.
Exactly. It's just a striking contrast. Barack Obama retired from the presidency at 55. But Donald Trump started his first term as president at 70.
It is a perfect factual example. It proves there is no single chronological prime for major life milestones.
Right. Some people peak in their 30s, and others don't even start their true life's work until their 60s.
But our brains really hate that unpredictability, don't they?
Oh, they despise it.
We are wired to prefer simple, straight lines. The research calls this flaw linear comparison.
Linear comparison.
Yeah. It is the false assumption that progress only happens in a straight, fast, upward trajectory. And the notes provide an example that is going to be incredibly relevant to you listening right now.
Oh, the language learning example. Yes, this is something every single person learning English struggles with.
Definitely. Imagine you feel terrible because you have been studying English for a year and you feel like you are still hesitating when you speak.
You feel stuck on a plateau.
Meanwhile, you see someone on social media claiming they became completely fluent in just 3 months.
Ugh, the worst feeling.
Right. Linear comparison kicks in right there, and it makes you feel foolish, makes you think your brain is defective or that you are doing something terribly wrong.
It triggers that massive wave of time anxiety. You think, I am falling behind my peers.
But if we apply time zone thinking, we can look at the actual mechanics of what is happening. The person who claims to have learned in 3 months might just be rapidly absorbing surface-level techniques.
Like they're just memorizing phrases to pass a test.
Exactly. But you, taking a year, you are doing something entirely different neurologically. You are building deep, foundational neural pathways. You are absorbing the culture, the nuance, the rhythm of the language.
So the speed might be slower, but the depth is completely different.
Precisely. The thickness of how you each absorb the language cannot be compared on a single linear timeline.
That makes so much sense. There is a really beautiful, poetic analogy in the research about this, comparing human growth to nature. Think about plants.
I love this part.
Plants do not all bloom at the same time. They have completely different blooming seasons. Like peach blossoms are incredibly beautiful when they open in the early spring, but plum blossoms are just as proud and just as beautiful when they bloom in the freezing cold of winter.
That's right.
You cannot yell at a plum blossom for not opening in April. That is simply not its season.
They each have their own destiny, which is another great vocabulary word for our listeners. Destiny.
Destiny.
In this context, destiny refers to your unique life path or trajectory. And the word bloom here means reaching your full potential.
Bloom. Every flower blooms in its own time zone.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to push back a little bit here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because while the peach blossoms and plum blossoms sound beautiful and poetic, let's be real. We live in a capitalist society.
We do.
Society still rewards speed. Like, my boss doesn't care if I am a plum blossom, you know? They want the report right now. The social media algorithm doesn't care about my blooming season. It just wants to show me someone younger and richer to keep me clicking.
Yeah, that is the harsh reality.
So how do we actually internalize this idea of an individual pace when the entire world is screaming at us to hurry up?
That is the ultimate challenge. It is one thing to understand this logically and entirely another to live it under pressure. And the truth is, you cannot change society's demands.
No.
The social clock is going to keep ticking out there in the world. People will still ask why you aren't married yet or why you don't have a better job. You cannot control the external world.
So what can we control then?
We can control our daily environment, our inputs, and our nervous system's response to those demands. This is especially crucial during those vulnerable late-night hours when time anxiety peaks.
Right, when you're alone with your phone.
Exactly. The psychology notes outline a very practical 3-step method to help shut out the noise and find your own internal rhythm. They call it the time zone settling method.
Okay, let's break this down because this is where the theory becomes actionable. Step 1 is mute the comparison triggers.
Mute the comparison triggers.
And a comparison trigger is exactly what it sounds like. It is anything that sparks that negative cycle of measuring your life against someone else's.
And this step is about ruthless boundary setting.
Ruthless.
Because the algorithm is literally designed to feed you your exact insecurities to keep your attention.
Exactly. If there is a specific account, maybe it's an influencer showing off their perfect, aesthetically pleasing life, or maybe it's a former classmate boasting about their rapid career success, and seeing their posts makes your heart race and ruins your sleep.
You have to mute them.
You have to. The notes advise us not to hesitate. Just press the mute button or unfollow them. It isn't petty at all. It is psychological self-defense.
It really is.
Yeah.
Protecting your attention is the absolute first step to reclaiming your own time zone. If you don't see the trigger, your brain doesn't sound the alarm.
You're controlling the inputs.
Yes. And once you stop the flood of external comparisons, you actually have space for step 2, which is measure your own growth.
To measure your own growth.
The rule here is simple, but profoundly difficult for most of us. Do not compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20.
Oh, it is so easy to do that, though. You start a new hobby like painting or, learning English, and immediately you compare your very first attempt to a master's finished product.
Because the master's product is what is visible online.
Right.
But the research suggests a powerful counter habit. Get a notebook and only compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Focus on micro efforts.
Micro efforts.
Yes. These small wins actually rewire your brain's reward system.
What does a micro effort look like in practice, though?
It doesn't have to be a massive achievement. The notes give a really lovely example specifically for language learners. Maybe tonight you just listen to a relaxing lo-fi English song.
Oh, I like that.
Or maybe you just memorize one warm, comforting English word. That's it. That is your progress. You acknowledge it and you write it down.
I love that so much. It takes that monumental pressure of becoming fluent right off your shoulders and turns it into, I learned one word today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we have step 3, which is highly physical. Align with your body clock.
Align with your body clock.
This is where we bring the mind and the body together to fight the anxiety. When you are feeling rushed and panicked, your nervous system is basically in overdrive. Your sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response, is dominating.
That is that tight chest, shallow breathing feeling we talked about.
Precisely. The research guides us through a physical technique to shift back into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest mode.
Let's actually talk through it because it is something you can do right now in bed.
Let's do it.
If you are listening and you are in a safe place to do so, the first step is to just close your eyes. The notes suggest intentionally slowing down your breathing. By forcing your breaths to be longer and deeper, you are sending a biological signal to your brain that you are safe.
Like there is no tiger chasing you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is no tiger, and you try to sync your heartbeat with the quiet stillness of the room around you.
And as you breathe, remind yourself of this core fact. No matter how fast the world outside is moving, no matter what your peers are doing, you have the fundamental right to stay exactly where you are and to breathe at your own pace.
It really is a profound act of rebellion against the social clock, just to breathe slowly.
It is.
It makes you feel incredibly grounded, which is our last piece of key vocabulary for today.
Grounded.
Grounded. When you are grounded, you feel emotionally safe, stable, and firmly planted in the present moment, instead of, floating away in anxiety about the future.
And being grounded builds self-trust, which is having confidence in your own path, even when it looks completely different from everyone else's.
Self-trust. That's so important.
To help cement this self-trust, the psychology materials provide a really powerful mantra. Think of it as a psychological anchor. When that wave of panic hits, you can use these English sentences to remind your logical brain of the reality of time zones.
Okay, what are they?
The first one is simple. Everything happens in its own time.
Everything happens in its own time. That is a great one for our learners to practice.
Now, the second one is the perfect response to the fear of falling behind. You are not late. You are on time.
You are not late. You are on time.
Because you are on time for your specific time zone. To bring all of these concepts together, the research offers a final, longer healing affirmation. Imagine a deep, steady musical note playing in the background, anchoring you to the earth, slowing your heart rate down.
Oh, I can picture that. Let's share this affirmation with our listeners. You can treat this as a tool. Repeat this quietly to yourself when the room is dark and the anxiety creeps in. I trust my own journey. I am not running a race against anyone. I am safely walking in my own time zone.
It is so good, it is worth repeating. Just letting the actual meaning of the words sink into your nervous system. I trust my own journey. I am not running a race against anyone. I am safely walking in my own time zone.
So what does this all mean for you tomorrow morning? Because when the sun comes up, the world is still going to be loud.
Oh, absolutely.
The social clock will still be ticking for everyone else. Your coworkers might still be bragging, and the internet will definitely still be full of 20-year-old millionaires. But we hope this deep dive has given you a new psychological shield to defend yourself against that pressure.
You have the tools now. You understand the evolutionary trick your brain is playing on you.
Exactly. Remember the core lessons from our discussion today. That social clock that makes you panic, it is a shared illusion.
It is a rigged marathon.
You are not falling behind because you are not on the same track as anyone else. You are building your own foundation at your own individual pace. Your only real competition is the person you were yesterday.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. It is a question that builds on everything we have explored about time zones and blooming seasons.
Let's hear it.
We know now that every flower blooms exactly when it is supposed to, whether it is a peach blossom in spring or a plum blossom in the dead of winter.
Right. They can't force it, and neither can we.
But think about this. If you finally stop exhausting all your mental and physical energy trying to run someone else's race,
Yeah.
if you finally put down that invisible ticking social clock and stop checking to see where everyone else is, what entirely new, unexpected path might you discover for yourself? What hidden talents or quiet passions might you suddenly have the energy to find things that you would have completely missed while you were too busy rushing just to catch up?